Karen wrote, "Can you do a more in-depth follow-up regarding the federal rental assistance money Oregon will not be receiving because they have not dispersed enough of what the state has already received?" So Karen, again, great question. We loved that question. As we've been reporting, just to recap, the feds throughout the pandemic have funneled waves of rent assistance down to the states to help struggling renters. And to force the states to divvy up that help quickly, the feds set a deadline. They told states and municipalities that by September 30th, they had to dole out or obligate, meaning promise to dole out to specific people, 65% of the federal rent assistance they had received. If they failed to meet that deadline, the feds might start taking that money back. Now, over the summer, Oregon, like several states, was lagging woefully behind in meeting that deadline, but officials told us this week they actually got it together in time for September 30th, and no money was returned from Oregon to the feds. So tonight, though, we actually want to tailor Karen's question just a little bit. Just think one little change. Okay, Karen, it's not you, it's us. You're perfect. In short, what about Washington? Did they meet that 65% threshold? That's a lovely arrow that we drew. I love that. Okay, so the answer with Washington, no, they did not meet the 65% threshold. So a second question, did the feds take rent assistance back from the state of Washington? Again, no, they did not. So how did Washington avoid that penalty? Well, like any good lawyer will tell you, it all boils down to the fine print. A rep for the state told me, quote, "Washington State's award isn't at risk of a reduction because we did meet the expenditure target of 30%. Ah, a new number. How fun. In other words, Washington physically got checks out the door for 30% of their funding. They didn't just obligate the rest of the money fast enough like Oregon did, meaning they didn't promise specific people their checks were coming. That was the 65% kind of combo. The 30% threshold, that was basically kind of plan B, and it was enough to help them skate by, along with a detailed presentation as to how they plan to speed things up down the line. Now, we should note Washington has a live dashboard, like Oregon, showing how much they've received and spent from the feds, but those figures haven't been updated since late August, and as of then, they had hundreds of millions of dollars available from multiple funding packages. We've asked for current numbers. We'll let you know when we get them. But if there is any doubt in the meantime that the demand for rent assistance in Washington is just as high as it is in Oregon, look no further than Clark County. Officials there release a few hundred rent assistance applications every couple of weeks, and people who have already gotten assistance during the pandemic are not eligible. This has to be a first-time application. Well, they released another round last night. 400 applications were gone in less than 30 minutes. That leads us to another viewer question. We don't normally double up, but we're going to in this case. Ryan wrote in and said, this is really sweet. "Please indulge my naivete and privilege." I'm going to make it fancy with naivete and privilege for a hot second while I ask a question. Why are people still in need of eviction protections and additional federal money for rent subsidies? Then he added, "To my outside perspective, there are plenty of open jobs, even some with signing bonuses, and schools," he added, "are back in session, so I assume childcare isn't as much of an issue as it was last year." Ryan, as I'm sure you can imagine, and I saw you couch that email multiple times, it was really well thought out. That is an incredibly complex question and one that we'll start diving into as much as possible. But for tonight, we'll start with this Clark County rep who explained how, from her perspective, new people are finding themselves in need of assistance every day.
We know that people were hit really hard in the beginning and were able to get assistance. And now people have maxed out their savings or maxed out their credit cards and all of the things that, they were trying to survive, because your housing is your most important asset to be able to survive. And so we are pretty proud about how much assistance we're getting out there, but we make no mistakes that it's not getting out fast enough. People are in crisis and they need the assistance.
So we're going to wrap this up with a push to Clark County's rent assistance platform if you need it. They release, again, a few hundred applications every couple of weeks. The next round gets released Wednesday, December 15th at noon. The best way to get alerted about those is to sign up for their news releases, the same releases we get into our email. Anyone can do it. Just go to flashalert.net and then click on Clark County.